I hope you're well. Another week has passed us by, so it's time for story time with Mrs. Mullord. And I've chosen a story that I've never read before today, and partly because I feel like the other two stories have been quite geared towards the girls, so I've gone for something that the boys will really, really love, and also partly because it's to do with space and there's a rocket involved, so obviously total fave already, and it is called The Boy Who Switched Off the Sun. Cool, hey? Now today I'm going to try and hold the book up so you can see the pictures. Obviously I never condone folding a book cover back on itself, but necessities, needs must. Coco's just trotting in for the story, that's what you can hear there. So hopefully she'll enjoy it too. Little Marcel didn't just like ice cream. He absolutely, completely loved the stuff. In fact, he loved it so much that he had secret stockpiles hidden in every corner of his house. Miss Mullord can't read backwards. So he had some hidden in his toy chest, he had some hidden on top of the cupboard, he had some hidden in the washing machine, and he even had some hidden in the dog kennel. Now I'm pretty sure if Coco had a kennel, the ice cream would not survive in there. He liked nothing more than enjoying a big, delicious scoop while he sat on his favourite bench by the beach. But there was a problem, a very big problem. The sun! Its hot, sweltering rays always turned his delicious frozen treat into a dripping, mushy mess long before he could finish it. Oh look, he doesn't look very happy. He's getting grumpier and grumpier as that picture goes on. Marcel tried everything. He tried eating his ice cream so fast that he didn't have time to let it melt, but that only made more big sticky splodges fly everywhere. He ate it in the frosty cold, but that just gave him horrible brain freeze. And he even tried eating it in the dark, but that was just too scary. Then, from out of nowhere, he had an amazing idea. The sun was just like an enormous dazzling light bulb dangling in the sky. That's it, shouted Marcel. I'll just switch off the sun. But the sun was millions and millions of miles away. Marcel would need to build a super fast solar-powered space rocket if he was to ever travel that far. So after weeks of building, banging, drilling and clanging, he proudly added the finishing touches to his gleaming spacecraft. Now I think that's a rocket that the Shrewton Way would be proud of, especially as it's solar powered. Very cool. That night, Marcel was so excited he hardly slept a wink. Next morning, he leapt out of bed, ran down to prepare for launch. It was perfect rocket flying weather. All systems are ready for liftoff, announced Marcel as the onboard computer began its countdown sequence. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off! The powerful rocket blasted higher and higher up through the clouds and out into space. Up amongst the stars, he could see the Earth disappearing into the distance. Marcel looked at it, thought it looked amazing, just like a great big fluffy scoop of bubblegum and pistachio ice cream. By the time he finally reached the sun, planet Earth seemed like a tiny dot in space. Marcel could see the giant off switch and quickly set to work. Floating closer and closer, he could feel the powerful heat washing over him, and he wished he had some yummy ice cream to cool him down. Then he pushed and pushed with all his strength until with one huge effort and a little help from his dog, kerplunk, Marcel switched off the sun. There you go. And the doggie's helping too. Oh, I'm not quite sure how Coco would feel about going to space. I think she quite likes her four paws on the ground. But as he set off for home, the sunlight faded fast and his solar-powered rocket began to run out of fuel, spiralling out of control. Luckily, Marcel managed to crash land safely in his back garden. There you go, crash landing. That night, very tired from his long journey, Marcel had lovely dreams about enjoying his favourite treat by the beach without it melting away. But when Marcel woke up the next morning, all was not well, and it was very dark and scary and far too cold for ice cream. And much, much worse than that, terrible things began to happen all around the world. Ocean in big freeze, planet's animals in hiding, flowers in forests are dying. Marcel realised he'd made the biggest mistake of all time. He must switch the sun back on without delay. But without the sun's energy, his solar-powered rocket just wouldn't work. He needed to think of a solution, and quickly. Look, the fuel gauge is on empty because there's no sun. And there was one thing that always helped Marcel to think more clearly. Strawberry cheesecake ice cream. As he tucked in to a super-sized scoop, the idea suddenly struck him. He would build a giant catapult to fire an enormous ball of ice cream straight at the sun's on switch. Marcel worked late into the night, building a scoop the size of a house. It was so utterly enormous, it used up his entire stockpile of ice cream, so he knew he would only have one shot at the sun. This is what it looks like. It's huge! Imagine trying to eat that. You'd need the biggest spoon ever. Finally, everything was ready. Crowds of people came from near and far, all desperately hoping that Marcel would be able to switch the sun back on. Commence countdown, he yelled. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire! There you go. There's the dog releasing it, the big spoon. It was all the way back here, and they've sprung it up just like a catapult. Everybody watched in wonder as the giant ball of deliciousness hurtled towards the sun. "Oh no," shouted Marcel, "the ice cream's starting to melt as it zoomed towards the sun's dying heat." And as it got closer, more and more just melted away until all that remained was a frozen scoop of Tutti Frutti. Now, it started off really big, and then because the sun's only just gone off, obviously there'll still be some heat being given off. So as the ice cream balls got closer, it started melting, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. There's the switch there. Everyone held their breath as the solid icy chunk landed a direct hit on the sun's on switch. But nothing seemed to happen. Had Marcel's plan failed? Angry and disappointed, the crowd started to walk away. They're not very happy with him. Then, suddenly, the sky was filled with the brightest light anyone had ever seen. Hooray! Everyone cheered and ran dancing into the streets. The next day, all around the world, everything began to return to normal. Flowers come alive, world's oceans defrost, animals come out of hiding. And although it was a drippy, melting mess, Marcel was very happy to be sitting on his favourite bench, enjoying his ice cream. And so was his dog. So, I enjoyed that. The Boy Who Switched Off the Sun written by Paul Brown and illustrated by Mark O'Hanlon. And yeah, a really good one, really good find. Thank you. I borrowed this from Wilton Primary School, so we must say thank you to them. I will return it safely later on in the week. But yes, so I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you're all keeping well. I hope you're all keeping reading, keeping those brains growing. And if you've got any recommendations for a story next week, then let me know what they are. I have Winnie the Pooh, I have The Enormous Crocodile, and I have One About a Tractor as well, all left over in my pile. So, but if you've got any more suggestions, just let me know. Take care. Bye-bye.